Now, with Vanity Project is also an art and residency program. For someone who does not know what that is, how can you define what an art and residency program is?
Yes. As you know, I came from an art background. And so for me, Vanity Projects has always been a flip on, like a twist on this. Like
Right.
the name, for example, is like the projects is like a gallery kind of naming mechanic, right? So
Mhm.
let's say there's Deitch projects or whatever, or so I didn't want it to be about me. It was never about me. It was about what it is that we were doing, right? And I thought that there was some like irony in the like a vanity project is about you, but it's not. And of course, nails and vanity, right? So it's kind of like a flip, right? So that's the name. But the artist in residency program for me was an extension of my history as an art curator, and so artist in residency programs are generally all over the world
Mhm.
where an entity hosts an artist to have an experience wherever it is. So, Nodler, for example, like I think it's called Nodler. It's one of the biggest toilet manufacturers in the United States. Anyways, they have an artist in residency program in wherever they make their toilets. And anyways, it's an opportunity for artists to come together and learn from whatever it is that person has to offer, or the space or location, right? And so the opportunity to go someplace else and learn from that experience and have that exchange was kind of uh, was already, let's I say, existing in the marketplace. And so I borrowed that concept for the salon so that we could have this very influential exchange. So at the same time we were launching Vanity Projects is when Tumblr was still in the mix and Instagram was just starting, you know? So
Mhm.
Tumblr and Instagram were like the connectors of the nail artist community, and it was the first time where you had exposure to artists in Japan who were doing whatever, artists in England who were doing whatever,
Mhm.
and as we were doing pop-ups, I was invited to do a pop up at MoMA PS1,
Mhm.
and I had a space for 8 artists. And of course, I
Mhm.
didn't have 8 artists available to do a pop up. I was working with 3 or 2. You know, we were doing like pop ups in like bookstores and like my friends' like offices and loft buildings, and it was really like friends and fam basically. And it wasn't. It definitely wasn't at a museum, and so it
Right.
was great opportunity. Like my good friend is the curator at PS1, and she was like, Rita, I'd love for you guys to pop up in the Confetti Systems sculptural installation, which is in the duplex of the museum. So I
Mhm.
had, like I said, 8 opportunities. So I thought, okay, who doesn't want to do nails at MoMA? Okay. So
Mhm.
why don't you call a couple people? And we had just been featured in this movie or a documentary called Nailgasm.
Mhm. I heard
And
that.
I used the opportunity to call all the girls in Nailgasm because um, Brass and I were still really good friends. I love her. She's the director of the documentary. And so I reached out to Brass. I was like, okay, let's get all these girls to New York and let's, and like grassroots, like, I had no money for this. I was using like air miles and, whatever would work. People like we all slept in my apartment. We had like a, little nail slumber party, Kiki.
Mhm.
But it had Brittany Tokyo and Nail Swag and
Mhm.
Regina Rodriguez and Amy V and
Mhm.
Jessica Washik and all of these superstars basically who were just kind of coming up. And it was a remarkable opportunity. It was a super cool moment. We all loved it. It went on. It was like every week we had a different group of artists.
Mhm.
So whoever was available, and it was like a 3-month pop-up. And so that's what really triggered the sort of artist in residency program concept. So I was like, wait a second, this is cool. And what's cool
Mhm.
about it is like you could get your nails by your sort of Instagram sort of super crush, you know?
Right.
And I was like, and to be able to provide that was also really cool for me too,
Mhm.
because I also wanted to, I mean, I'm as geeked out about this as my audience, right? So I was
Right.
like, I also want to get my nails done by Regina Rodriguez, you know what I mean? Like, so, and so she was super into it, and she came up from Virginia and she did it. And like, she ended up working with the salon when we opened, and, you know, it just blossomed into all of these amazing relationships over the years. You know, I'm still working with Brittany Tokyo and a lot of the artists from, you know, when we started. So, so that's how the sort of impetus for the artist in residency. And then when we opened, it's like the opportunity, like I said, to continue to provide the world's top tier talent. So then it became like, who else can come? But now we've absolutely professionalized that process too. So before it would be like Google Translate, please, would you want to come to New York? You know, and then of course it would be really lost in translation. So that actually came, you know, so it came to be, so we have to like hire a Japanese person to like be our translator and to like frame it properly and to explain to them like what to expect and what to be prepared for, and et cetera, you know, where do they stay when they're in New York and all of that. So now we have an apartment where they stay, and we continue to do it. And after COVID, I'm so happy to say that like we're still bringing artists from LA, from San Francisco, from Chicago. We're really continuing to try and offering that. Like, for example, in Miami this summer, we have this amazing girl from from England coming. She's not from London. Her name's Paiwa, and she's like one of the top nail artists in England right now. And I'm so excited to have her come, because the British scene is now just like exploding, and it's so amazing and encouraging for me, because of course I've spent so much time in England that it really is like kind of a, you know, perverse itch, you know, like, oh my God, maybe I need to open in London eventually, like go back to like my old friends and my old life there, you know? So like, I'm not thinking small when it comes to what we do. Absolutely. You know, but the artist in residency, all of these things are just ways for me to continue to express my personal interest and to express like my relationship with, like I said, like these artist relationships, with learning new things, with bringing the artists, and they share their techniques. So like, even like, you know, I have nothing to do with it. And actually we had this like really sort of deep moment when I was in Japan, and it was at like a nail expo, and some of the nail artists that I had worked with that were in the residency were all there, right? So they all met up without me. They all met up without me, and so that's when I like, you know, really sort of feel that something is successful when it's like got nothing to do with you anymore, you know. And they had like maybe 15 of them all together, like going out for dinner, and like they took this like group shot, and my heart exploded, because I was just like, this is exactly what I wanted to do. This exactly, the community, the exchange of ideas, the exchange of passion, the exchange of woman passion. Like, it's weird. It's like this like tribe, you know, like, and those girls
Right.
are like sisters, you know, all of them.
Exactly.
They have this shared experience, and that's so special, you know, like they can always and forever like see each other, utilize that experience, remember that experience, like, and VP is just like a seed in that, you know, and that's for me just like the most hype part about it. I love that.
Mhm. Now, in terms of like publication and New York Fashion Week, so you guys have been involved in collaborating with Nike, Dior. You guys have done Fashion Week in terms of New York and Miami Swim. So, what has been those experiences like?
Well, I mean, always an honor and a privilege, first of all. Like, you know, it's a lot of work. You have to be super prepared. You have to be really on time. And like, so, you know, what those people expect of you is absolute professionalism, right? And so that's what the learning curve is like. So when we started off, you know, we would, like I said, we started doing the pop-ups at the museum. So we got really lucky from the very from the go. So I'm not going to lie, like the positioning was perfect. But when we started working with Nike, like you know, we were just doing events, and then it just kind of grew as the relationship grows, you know, because when you become reliable, when you deliver, when you show up, like the client sees that, and then like more opportunities come to you, you know. So we've been very lucky, like I said, but we also work really hard to deliver the product, right? So I know now, like, you know, when we did HBO, they did these like fantastic kind of when what was that? What is it called? That one, that show, the black girl in LA. It's such a good show. What is it called? Single, or what is it? Do you know the one that I'm talking about? Oh, and what, Lisa May is in it.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyway, Issa May is in this amazing show on HBO. Anyway, so they did a pop-up in Dallas, and they did a pop-up in Dallas, and they did a pop-up in DC to like hit the markets before they were launching the show. And it was a huge deal, and a big project. But the point is that, you know, logistics management is like 90% of what we do, and the production. And like I said before, I'm like not really a selfie queen. I'm like behind the scenes producer. Like that's what it really takes, is to like deliver to the client so that things on the day of just go like seamless, you know. And that's when they call you again, you know. So those are really fantastic opportunities, and I'm super grateful for them. But like it comes with hard work, and like I said, that level of delivering. Swim and New York Fashion Week have been things that were sort of like aspirational, and I'm really happy that we've done them. But unfortunately, those industries do not compensate the artists in a good way. Like, so it's like not interesting to me as much, you know? So, you know, I couldn't conquer all parts of the industry, right? I mean, the artists, there's the salon operations, there's pop-up parties and such, there's on-set work, and then there's runway. And runway has no budget, right? So what happens is, like for New York Fashion Week, it's your privilege to be there. And no, this is my job. So I should get paid. So it's not about my privilege. I don't have a product. If I had a product, then I would understand that it would be my privilege for that platform. But unfortunately, I have a service. And so that service needs to be compensated for. And it bothers me immensely that it's like the day rate is so small. And so it's not been something that I've really been active in, because like I said, it's, you know, I want my artists back in the salon making that same amount of money for 2 hours worth of work, not for 6 hours worth of work. And then that's all they did that day, you know? So business wise, like runway isn't where you make money, but it is fun, and like it's a faceted experience for the artists, and they love the BTS, and like to see like the models and this hype, backstage beauty and all that, and it's fun. So like for example, we did Mara Hoffman in Miami, and it was so fun, you know. I mean, she's a personal icon of mine, and so it was so cool to work with her and see her creative process. But like, do you want to be doing like models on your hands and knees, like in like a hot environment? No. For $100? No, you don't. You know, so like business wise, it's not, like I said, where I want to put my interest, but we are working on something exciting this summer that I can't talk about 100% yet because it's not confirmed, but hopefully we'll be doing a really cool project for Swim in Miami in July. And I really pray that happens, because it's really turning on some creative juices. So I say that you don't want to do it because it's not good money, but it's really good fun and it's really creative. And so, like, for example, like the CND and the Blondes and
Right.
CND do like New York Fashion Week, and Jan Arnold will take over like the whole of like the top floor of the Bowery Hotel, and she's got like 10 nail artists in there making the most amazing nail tips. Like, that's amazing, and that's so
Mhm.
creative, and it's like like this like little incubator of like talent, and it's so impressive. But that's not what we do usually, you know what I'm saying? And of course, like, they have a brand and they have a product to sell, and so of
Exactly.
course it makes sense to see what you can do with their products, right?
Mhm.
So if I had a product, I think that I might be more interested in showcasing it like that, but
Right.
not yet. Like, for me, our growth is really grassroots, and I don't have an investor. I don't have a rich dad. I don't have any kind of financial backing. So everything I do is like myself.
Right.
So it's like, if we're going to put money into something, it's because I'm going to see a return, or I'm going to see like how that's going to return back to the business. But when you buy a product, let's say you have to order 10,000 colors, 10,000 units of one color. So then all your money is wrapped up in the product, right? So you have your
Right.
garage filled with one color. Well, newsflash, you want 300 colors or 30 colors at least, right? So
Exactly.
I've been really lucky that this community has been very generous in terms of, like, for example, the girls from Floss Gloss were also featured in the Nailgasm video and or documentary. And then we became very good friends. And then those girls moved into my apartment downstairs in my house in New York. So in my apartment building, my boyfriend and, well, my boyfriend, now husband, he and I had separate apartments. We were friends first, and then we got together. So I always kept the second apartment. So Janine and her now husband moved into that apartment. So we are really like tight friends. And anyways, the joy of that is learning that the challenges of owning a polished brand and a
Right.
polished company and
Mhm.
a product company, and I've seen them work really, really hard, and all, like I said, all your money is wrapped up in product. So anyways, long story, but a good one. I love those girls.
Mhm. That's really awesome. Now the show, you said there was a show on HBO, right, with Issa Rae?
Yeah, insecure.
Insecure, yeah, Insecure.
Insecure. I mean, I love that show. No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
such a good
yeah.
show. But it's like, like at first you didn't know it was going to be a good show. And like now, oh,
Mhm.
I love that show. No, it's a really good show. She's great in it. She's so funny.
Yeah.
Um, but we did like a nail pop up, and it was so cool to work with HBO because of course they
Mhm.
had like a great budget. So we
Mhm.
we really like had these like experiential, like the girls had like a little nail like booth to take selfies in
Right.
afterwards. It was branded, and it was just really smart. And
Mhm.
like I said, I'm always learning. So it's so
Mhm.
cool to learn from like these productions or like these production people. Like, I didn't know how to do these things before. And so you just kind of learn as you go.
Exactly, right. Now, in terms of like the collaboration of fashion and nails and also the progression of the beauty industry, like what is your whole take on those two topics? Like not only the collision of nails and fashion colliding together, but also the progression of the beauty industry.
Well, I had noticed this in 2008. So, like,
Mhm.
nail, or not necessarily nails, but it is nails now. But let's say fashion, art, and beauty and experience was kind of becoming a bit of a mashup, right? So,
Mhm.
let's say going to Art Basel was my job. Like, going to art fairs and stuff like that was my job. But it quickly, you turn around and you're like, wait a second, this became like Coachella,
Right.
um, right? So how did like Art Basel become Coachella? And it's
Mhm.
because art, fashion, lifestyle became one, right? And so when that started happening, and you were like, wait a second, there's fashion people here at art shows, or there's art people here at fashion shows, or maybe artists were doing collaborations with fashion designers, et cetera, et cetera. So that was starting to really come into the marketplace. And so I caught onto that at a very early on. But nails has now become so immersed in our culture, whether it's Megan Thee Stallion, whether it's Kylie Jenner, whether it's Saweetie or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, if that's not even like a reference, but you know, in terms of, like, say, like pop culture or what have you, like these are like some of the women who are really pushing it forward. Cardi B, obviously, you know, but you know, I also see it, let's say, like, really, it really makes me happy when I saw, like, for example, the British girl who just won the Oscar for, the British screenwriter. She just won an Oscar. I'd never even heard of her, and she was on the cover of W magazine with like these huge long talons, and I was like, yes, you know, because like I recognize that it's entered into the psyche at that point, you know, and that's when you kind of know that you're in this for the long haul, you know. That I sort of feel like now nails has become such a forefront of what like, let's say, even stylists are doing, you know. And not only that, but more importantly, like the credit to the nail artists is like, you know, they've become its own entity, right? So it's no longer like, ooh, look at Megan Thee Stallion's nails. It's like, no, who did Megan Thee Stallion's nails? Like that's more important. Like that's where I'm interested. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, oh, did you see that look on so and so? Who did that? You know, so we're doing a lot of like wrap ups right now on Instagram of like who we're seeing, and we've always done it, but we're doing it more so now because I really am excited to continue to champion, even if I'm not working with these people, just to continue to champion and bring attention to what they do and who they are, because essentially that's what I thrive on my platform. You know, like for our Instagram, we credit every single manicure to the artist who made it. Sometimes the nail inspiration comes from Pinterest, or like the artist like took a screenshot and they didn't take the name or the you know, the inspo, so that'll definitely come to bite you. You know, but I try and just be like, hey, nothing personal, you know, like not really trying to steal your art. It's like, you know, it's called a nail salon. Like someone came in, they were like, we want this. I said, okay, you know, like it's like people take it really personal, but you know, I'm not taking away from like the authenticity of a credit or like the importance of a credit. I'm not, and on the contrary, if you see, like I've put 16,000 Instagram posts and they all have a credit. The credit goes to the person who made it. First and foremost, in my opinion, but the artist inspo is also very important. But I don't like I said, I'll always edit, but it's not, like I said, personal. And I feel like people make it personal, and I feel like that's when they need to kind of recognize that it's like a gesture of congratulations and not a gesture of taking something from somebody. And I think that's the real nuts and bolts. It's like I feel like someone thinks like that you're robbing them of something. And you're not robbing them of anything. In fact, you're congratulating them. In most cases, I'm telling you, my artist is doing you a favor by doing a reproduction of your nails, because that is the ultimate applause. And that is the ultimate, like, you know, like this one, Kanai, like the super sensei just did your design. Like, like, you know, like, that's you know, it's more of a congratulations and than it is like a thievery. So that's where I feel like the internet and Instagram and this kind of like subculture, you know, has maybe got it a little twisted. You know, and this is a bigger topic, obviously. Like, for example, when I went back to in the past to try and trademark a nail, for example, I worked with a photographer who decided after the nail pics were so good, we were going to do a trade, and the nail pics were so good, the photographer said, "I'm sorry, you can't use them." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And they're like, "No, we they're too good for you." I was like, wait a second, these are my nails. Like, these are the nail tips that, you know, I paid for the production and that, but the artist had the rights to his photo. So I said, okay. So I went to like the trademark board or whatever, you know, like I was like, how do we go about this? And it's monumentally difficult to trademark your design and to have a copyright, proper copyright to your nail art design. And the nuances of the laws are so much so that, like, look at H&M, look at not only H&M, but who's a huge Zara. Okay,
Right.
You go into Zara and you're like, oh, well, that's rip off of Louis Vuitton. That was a rip off of last season, whatever,
Right,
or this
exactly.
season, whatever. And they just tweak it a little, right? Because
Yeah.
the law is that if you just tweak it a little, you can get away with it, right? And then also then becomes the sort of nuance of the person who made it. For example, let's say one time we got an email cease and desist from the Magritte Foundation. And the Magritte Foundation said, we do not want you reproducing Magritte nails. And so my lawyer, and this is why you should always, you know, be proper and have, like, you know, things like lawyers, you know, to kind of articulate and help you articulate the situation properly. So my lawyer wrote to them and said, actually, no, this is the artist rendition of the work. And although it's very similar, it's not exact and it's temporary. It's not a permanent. So years later, I got an email from Basquiat Foundation telling me, actually, you have to stop doing Basquiat nails. And same thing. I went back to my lawyer. I said, like, write these people a letter, please, because we need to be able to do Basquiat nails, because you should be more offended by the gym that did a crappy mural of Basquiat in the back of their gym that looks terrible. You know what I mean? Whereas these nails actually look like Basquiat painted them himself. You know, so it bothers me that, like, it's perceived as, like I said, stealing something when really we're celebrating something, and the sentiment behind it is the absolute opposite of what they're suggesting. I mean, obviously we're selling the nails, so I'm not going to be naive to think that I'm not making money off that image, but it's the artist's expression of the work. And so that's when you really need to talk to a lawyer to get, like, the absolute. So, for example, it's easier for Instagram to just delete your photo than it is for them to explain the nuances of trademark law, right? So, for example, if, like, you know, you see, like, someone did your nails or whatever, and you're like, oh, they robbed me, report to Instagram, you know? And so for Instagram, it's just like, screw it, just delete it. I don't even want a deal, you know? Like, it's not even worth it. So it's much easier for them to just do that than it is for them to say, well, okay, actually, is this really trademarkable, or is this really, you know, a violation, et cetera, et cetera. So I've, like I said, had experience with all of these. And so more often than not, you just say, I'm really sorry, it wasn't personal, I'm happy to credit. And that's where we just move on, you know. And worst case scenario, you don't like it, honey, I'll just delete it. It's not the end of the day. You know, it's more for me to celebrate my artists and the clients who came in to get that on their nails, because trust me, they're really hype and they're happy and they're excited. They're excited for their nails. They're excited that you posted them. You know, it's all love. It's not about appropriation.
Yeah, most definitely. So you've also held, like, art exhibitions around the world in Milan, London, and DC. So what is that whole process like of holding an art exhibition? And what are tips and pieces of advice would you have for someone who wants to get into the art business?
Well, it's changed a lot since I was in it, but like for me, what I did was I was an independent curator. So I didn't work for a particular gallery. My little niche was having the finger on the pulse. So
Mm,
so it depends on whether you're a creator or whether you're a curator, right? So
right.
like if you're an artist, then you need to be worried about your practice and your work, right? And who sees that and how you can gain exposure. And of course, Instagram is like, for me today, the first and foremost place that I would start by, showcasing your work by your own platform, right?
Mhm.
But you would also have to be very careful about what else you put on there because if you're showcasing your art, you need to be pure to that, and you should have a separate page for your personal, right? So that it's not like, hey, me on a Saturday night, woohoo, and then look, me really cerebral on a Monday, like keep it separate. Church and state, you party on the weekends, you party when you're home. It's separate to your art practice. This is what you do for a job or your living, right?
Right.
So I would start there. But for me, I got into it by going to artist studios, by going to see art, going to see exhibitions. Like I said, going to Art Basel was my job. Going to art openings every weekend was my job. Somebody told me
Right.
that, like, when I first kind of got out of marketing and was like
Mhm.
done with like that, I was like, I didn't do all my education to be in marketing. I wanted to be a curator. Let's like work with artists. So that's when I was going to studios and putting together exhibition ideas and then pitching them to art galleries from like people that I knew. And you know what? It didn't work out. It's not a good look. It's like but but that's all I knew,
Right.
and so like I wasn't successful. Like that wasn't, I'm not working at a big gallery now, and
Mhm.
so I saw that trajectory after 2008. I had just worked 2 years on an exhibition. I
Right.
had artists from all over the world in this exhibition in New York. And then what happened? The art dealer stole an artwork from one of my artists and didn't pay them. And so all of a sudden I'm caught up in this, like, you didn't pay the artist thing. And like,
Mhm.
that's not my problem. Like, but now my relationship is now jeopardized. I can't be accountable for other people's behavior, right? And so that's for me where I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I got to still do what I'm doing, but I got to make it about being realistic about my future and about my income and
Right.
making it a business, right? But
Mhm.
now, like, the art market has exploded, and there's opportunities for everyone, and there's opportunities for women, and there's opportunities for BIPOC women, and there's, I mean, just everybody, like
Right.
trans, like you name it. One of my most favorite artists, Martine, um, is this amazing trans performance artist, and we've been working with Martine for a long time. She did videos, and then she did a performance with us, and then she did a performance here in Miami during Art Basel with us. And
Mhm.
so like it's really a different landscape than it was when I was starting out 20 years ago, which I'm excited about for the new generations, because I think that level of entry was so difficult at that point for both artists and for administrators.
Mhm.
A lot of my colleagues and friends now, we all sort of think like about our like hard road up the ladder, or like,
Right.
we earned it, or like in hindsight, like some of these like cancel art gallery platforms that are now like takedowns for people. And we're just like, God, we paid our dues. Like we really like
Right.
paid them, and I sort of feel like that landscape has changed, thankfully. And so I think that now there's such a great opportunity for artists to just focus on the work,
Mm.
focus on like these grassroots ways of exposing their work. And, you know, like by little, it comes, and or it comes right away. And sometimes you don't want it necessarily right away. Sometimes you're not ready for success. You know, a lot of times in hindsight now, I can tell you, I worked with some of the hottest, youngest sparks, right? And then like, where are they now? Not sparks anymore. And they'll tell you, I got too fast, too quick, or I got too successful too quickly. I pissed it away, or I didn't really like recognize the opportunities because it just came too easy or whatever, you know? And
Mm.
so it's like, I think everybody has their own road. And I think it's really important to sort of navigate your journey as it appears to you and how it feels to you organically. Like, I
Mhm.
think that unfortunately, Instagram has created this kind of like voyeuristic and also like unrealistic sort of access, right?
Right.
So, like, for example, you see the success of whichever artist, right?
Mm.
And you're like, oh, that's easy. I can get that. I can do that. And
Mm.
it's like, oh, no, no, honey. Like, no, you don't know like what it took to get there. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or you
Exactly.
don't know that this
Exactly.
guy's been sleeping with so and so for the last like 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. And like, you know, he's got a hot ass. And that's the reason why he's like got that exhibition, you know? And I mean, I hate
Right.
to be frank about it, but it's like true that unfortunately it's like maybe they slept with the right person, or maybe they got in the elevator with the right person, or maybe they went to a party and they ran into that right person, or you just don't know when your opportunities are going to come to you. So, you know, I never knew when I was sitting with Brass that I was going to meet like all the most amazing women that I was going to collaborate with, you know.
Right.
There was just a young girl like, hey, I'm really into nails, and Naomi Yasuda said I should talk to you. And I was like, cool, I am, let's talk, you know. And and so those kinds of humble beginnings make it, I think. But I have a lot of like, let's say, the the history to look back to, you know. Unfortunately, I didn't know this when I was 22, but I
Mhm.
know it when I'm 46. And that's, you know, what I'm hoping that I can help share that with everybody. And that's why I'm excited to talk to you, you know, is to like tell people like, slow your roll. It's not going to happen right away. And if it does, it might not even be the best thing for you, but like trust your gut, you know, and go
Mhm.
with your gut. And, you know, speaking of, for you is a perfect example. SCAD was like the most amazing place where you could start, right? And you
Right.
didn't know that when you first were doing your interviews, or you were looking at schools, where should I go to school, whatever. And look
Mhm.
at what you learned, and look at what you experienced. And now as an alumni, look at the pride that you have with like having gone to one of the top schools in the country, you know.
Mhm.
And like that sense of like journey or recognition, you know, is super important. Like there's another school, RISD, that I love in Rhode
Really.
Island, and a lot of my friends either had gone through RISD, you know, graduated RISD, and the same thing, you know, that's like your passport for life. You know, you're like, I went to RISD. Oh, you did? Whoa, okay.
Right.
You know, like, all right, I see you. You know, like when you said scat immediately, I'm like, okay, this girl's knowing what she's talking about. She's
Mhm.
completely immersed in like her path. And, you know, that's so cool and unique, you know, and not everybody has the luck of that sort of perspective. But that's essentially another reason why I feel like the school is like such a valuable opportunity,
Right.
because you know, you could look at our Instagram page and be like, God damn, I want to be that, or I want to do nails like that. And then it's like, well, you
Mhm.
can, you know, this is the way, you know, this is the way you can do that. And that's, for me, like the reality. Like I'm very, like I said, I'm true to my word. I deliver on what we promise. And like, that's essentially that kind of consistency and the sort of dedication is what it takes.
Right.
It's what it takes for everything in life, but specifically with nails and what we do, it's not like you're starting out and you're making 100 grand a year. These girls have been doing nails 12 years, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and they
Exactly.
earned that, over time. And now they work fast. So now they can execute like both expensive nails and fast. Boom. That's the
Right.
secret,
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. And what stood out to me was that how you talked about the criticalness of seizing opportunities and don't rush success. It takes time. And another thing too that you said that, these different schools like FIT, Parsons, some people come out of these top schools, and it's really cool to see, so much you can learn in these different, art schools. You learn about different arts, you learn about different techniques.
Yeah.
And the world of, nails and art in general is our oyster. And I like how you brought those points up in terms of success, because I think that's really important. My dad always told me,
Absolutely.
my dad always told me that preparation means opportunity. And also too, it's important to be prepared. It's important to love what you do. And when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So my dad has always instilled those lessons in me, and, I still learn about these things and still learn and apply it to myself, so
No,
it's
those
really
are
cool.
such valuable. I mean, he was absolutely right on, and it's absolutely true because like the more you invest in yourself, like, and now of course, like self-care and like the mind, and we're really like, I have such faith because our community is already in our culture sort of reaching out for the things that we intuitively need already, so like, you were talking about being prepared, but you also have to be mentally prepared, right?
Right.
So like
Mm.
you have to, how are you going to show up to your client? Are you going to show up like late, unprepared, disorganized, or are you going to show up calm, organized, motivated? And then then it's just, the other day I was talking to one of my artists about like how to the stance, because as soon as a client sees like you're like a little hesitant, right? They seize that opportunity. And it's really sick sometimes the way some clients will manipulate that opportunity to then say, I don't like the color. I don't like this. I don't like that. Do it again. You did it bad. You didn't do this right. They're telling you how to do your own job, and you're like,
Mhm.
okay. So what I was trying to explain to my artist was like, and of course this woman's Japanese, so intrinsically they're like, no, client's right. And I'm like, no, the client's not necessarily right. You have to compose yourself that you are the professional, that you are the professional today. Okay.
Mhm.
So like she can be a professional every other day, but today you're the professional. So you have to say, I'm sorry, ma'am, but unfortunately I can't do that in the amount of time that we have, because I need to be prepared for my next client. So I can't run into her time because you have not decided that pink is what you want to wear today. You want to wear orange or something like that. Like your indecision is not my problem,
Mhm.
but in
Exactly.
a nice way. But it's about posture. It's about body language. It's about that trusting that she knows what she's doing. And
Mhm.
it's a very subtle nuance because we don't want to seem egotistical. You don't want to seem like, grab the client by the hand, like, I know what I'm doing, lady. No, that's not
Right.
the sentiment. The sentiment is more like, be empowered that you know what you're doing. And then the
Exactly.
client won't seize the opportunity to manipulate, to try and like whatever, project her own BS. You know what I'm saying? So like that sense of ownership or authority is what I'm trying to like build in my team so that they, come across like confident,
Right, exactly. And I've seen an interview with Andre Leon Talley. He's like the editor, he was the editor at large at Vogue. And he talked about that polish is everything. Presentation is everything, to your work, to how you dress, the knowledge, that's very, very important. And I think, in terms of posture and how you present yourself, like how you said, that's extraordinarily important. because that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say the same thing. I think it's so easy to like go to work in your sweatpants or whatever, right? But then you have a client just like, and I'm talking about my front desk. Like, I'm not talking about artists. I'm talking about my front desk. And so let's say you didn't wear makeup that day, or let's say your hair doesn't look good that day, and a client's like screaming at you about something. Like,
Right.
I don't want that for my team. I don't want anybody yelling at you for any reason. But I say to
Right.
them, like, well, then put a little lipstick on. If you're gonna wear a sweatshirt, put your hair up. Like look like so put together or whatever that it's like the woman would be offended to disrespect you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Exactly.
dress the way that you want people to treat you.
Right.
Because no one's going to treat you with disrespect if they feel like you put yourself together and that you're a respectable person. And so therefore they need to take their energy somewhere else or what have you,
Yeah.
like it's not that person's fault. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a subtle trick, but I feel like you said, presenting yourself, properly with respect and, to what you're doing and where you're doing it,
Mhm.
context.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, how would you define the legacy of Vanity Projects?
Quality, artistry. That's really what I mean. I feel like my my legacy will be like just the quality and the integrity of what we do. The artist in residency program for sure. I feel so strongly that the sort of layered effect of 10 years of different artists from all over the world coming together, I think that's profound.
Mhm.
Looking back to the list of artists that have worked with us is profound.
Mhm.
I'm so proud of that list. I'm so proud of the list of the artists that we've worked with.
Mhm.
Whether they've ended up like positive or negative, it doesn't matter. And like actually that's the biggest growing point where the result doesn't matter, but the experience and the memory is what's powerful still to me. So like knowing that we did it, knowing that we had and I know that Vanity Projects has had a profound influence on all these artists. Like I told you about the photo, you know, like, like hands off. That's not me. That's all you girls. You know what I
Right.
mean? You're all
Exactly.
besties from this, and you all have this insane network and these insane relationships and these beautiful like friendships and that came from this experience, and that I feel is our legacy. Like
Mhm.
and back to quality, always quality of the art, quality of the design, quality of the products.
Mhm.
Like I really feel like that platform is what I have been able to, provide, that sort of critical platform, for, maintaining that sense of quality.
Mhm. Most definitely. That's very cool. Where can people find Vanity Projects on social media, and how people can get access to nail courses?
So we're on at Vanity Projects in New York and at Vanity Projects MIA for Miami. And then the school is at Vanity Projects Institute. And those links are all on our websites. We also have Vanity Projects NYC and vanityprojectsinstitute.com.
Mhm.
And all of the course information, pricing, kit lists, everything is on our website. So it's really easy to get that information. And like I said, the school is like a one click. So as soon as you click purchase, you get 14-day access to the course. And the kit is purchased through Nail Labo. But if you have a lot of the kit items already, then we give you like comps. So you're not necessarily beholden to our list. Like
Mhm.
if you have like a drill, for example, if your drill has the RPMs that we're looking for, you can use your drill, whether you bought it on Amazon or whether you bought it on Nail Labo or whatever. But Nail Labo was like a one-stop shop for all products. And of course, we've worked with them for 10 years and I love them. And
Mhm.
I'm adamant about working with the people that you love and you trust.
Mhm.
That's like my new mantra for post-COVID like business
Right.
operations is work with the people that you love and that you trust, and that's it. I only want to work with the people I respect. And like, it's not a race anymore. It's just
Right.
about like the pleasure of doing business, not necessarily just like the hustle always.
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Miss Rita.
My absolute pleasure. I'm sorry, we've gone like so many tangents, but I hope you got all of the information. It was such a pleasure to speak to you. I'm so excited about our continued conversations about your school, and if you ever need anything, any resources, any ideas, if you're interested in doing the course yourself, I think you should definitely look into it. I know that a lot of our artists have used acrylic paint as like when they started, and then the gel has offered them so much in terms of like what you can do with the design, because the
Mhm.
product holds better,
Right.
or maybe the nuance in the colors that you're able to accomplish. For example, this artist that I work with in Miami, her name's Chiara, and her handle is NYC Chiara Nails,
Mhm.
and she does this one stroke floral technique, which
Mhm.
of course I'm sure you know about one stroke
Mhm.
technique period, but
Right.
the one stroke floral with acrylic paint is where she started, and now she's doing the run stroke with gel,
Mhm.
and it's monumental to see how she has developed using gel now that she's more confident using gel. But she started doing acrylic paint just like you, and I have worked with other artists in Italy actually as well who work with acrylic paint. So um, it's just a learning curve.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anyway, but
Yeah.
it's so nice to talk to you. I appreciate this so much. Thank you for including me in your discussions, your podcasts, and everything. It's so cool. I'm really supportive, 100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that were able to do this interview. Like it's so cool to see, like, you're not just about like the artistry, you're about the quality. You're about taking people under your wing and building these great artists. And it's really, really cool. And I'm very inspired by you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, my absolute pleasure. I mean, it's all for real. Like, it's not for show. Like, this is
Mhm.
when you really believe it, and you're like, I was telling people the other day, it's like in the marrow of your bones. Like, it's so intense, but it's true, that like you can't fake it. Like, it's
Right.
just really like how you walk. You walk the walk, you talk the talk. And I think that especially with nails, like, it is something that you just have to practice, and no, and I think like there's a perverse expectation that you're going to just start like amazing, or like you can do this amazing, so you should be able to do this amazing. It's a tiny little canvas. There's so many other nuances at play.
Mhm.
But these courses are so sort of focused on giving you those like foundation, like tips and tricks and techniques and stuff like that like I'm so excited because this is like the missing link.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much. Take care. See you
My
soon.
pleasure. Take care. You too. Bye, hun.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms, as well as visiting my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more videos to come soon. Take care, stay safe, and stay healthy.